Hello, everybody. Welcome to this convention prep episode of Beware the Board, a horror podcast where we watch a randomly selected horror movie every week. I'm Bob.
And I'm Ben.
Oh my god, he's doing hand puppets. Hello. Yeah, it's talking. Only move when I'm talking. How nice. So that hand puppet's me? Is that your right hand, Ben? Because that's fucked up.
Maybe.
Oh my gosh. All right. Hey, Ben.
Hey.
You're still doing the hand puppets. I thought you would stop after we laughed. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good today. I mean, I'm kind of in the mood to watch a movie, I guess. More so than normal because it's not 6 a.m. when we normally do these convention prep episodes.
No, it's actually, on God, it's kind of, I'm going to spoil something. We've recorded 2 episodes today. We're really early on the first episode being done.
Yeah, it's kind of great.
We normally don't start recording the second one until like 6 p.m. It's 3:30.
Yeah.
Now, we normally go get food, but we didn't do that today because Ben has shit to do. But still, we're making some pretty good time. I might actually have some time to myself on a weekend day that isn't, working, basically.
Yeah, and he's just going to spend it editing?
Well, I kind of have to. But unrelated. We got a lot of episodes coming out lately. Okay, you got to stop with these hand puppets. It's going to make me lose my mind.
What are you talking about?
Oh, Benjamin. Benjamin, those hand puppets are already I'm about to punch you in your hands.
No!
I will come across this fucking... I'll cross... Ah! Anyway, what are we doing today, Ben?
Today, we're watching Return of the Living Dead Part 2!
Fuck, I missed. I wish I had something to throw you that wasn't going to actually hurt you right now. I almost threw my glass at you, but that would hurt.
He threw a roll of toilet paper at me. Not gonna get into why he has that in his room, but...
Well, my nose. I have really bad allergies.
Sure.
No, I really...
Sure you do.
No, I'm allergic to dogs, and I have a dog that sheds really bad, so I have to blow my nose a lot.
Fair, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready to do this?
If you stop the hand puppets, I'm ready. I'm over it. This bit has gone too far. We don't record video. You're only doing it to piss me off.
Yes.
I fucking hate you. Why is this one so much more feral than the last one? It was like 10 minutes between them. All we did was go pee.
Well, yeah, but I'm just staring deeply into the eyes of a cartoon character. He's not helping.
Oh, my God. Yeah, we're watching Return of the Living Dead Part 2 for this one. If Ben didn't already say that, I couldn't hear. He's shaking his hands because they're probably sore from doing hand puppets for the last 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. He says he's ready, begins texting someone or something. Oh, my God.
I forgot to copy what year this was.
Oh, okay. I'm actually curious what year this was, because I don't remember when Return of the Living Dead Part 1 came out. It was like 85 or 86 or something, if I remember correctly. I'm probably wrong.
Okay, so this film came out in 1988.
Okay.
And if you're asking when the first one came out, it came out in 1985.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So it's been about 3 years.
It's not
since the
too
last
long of a
one.
distance. Like, too long. I mean,
Yeah, it's not too bad.
hell, there's 10 years between Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, so.
All right, description. They're back for revenge.
Hell yeah, they are.
Maybe from the grave.
Is this the first zombie film we watched on the show? No, we watched Wreck before this.
Yeah.
This is the first, like,
True
Living
zombie
Dead
film, because Wreck is a
demon film, technically, if
Yeah.
you watch the second one.
Also, they're not like super classic zombies.
No.
This is like the first classic zombie film we watched.
Yeah, I remember when we watched that movie the first
Especially
time.
because
Blew my mind.
the Dead franchise technically is at first unidentified assassins.
Yeah.
And then they're zombies, but they don't eat brains.
No, they just eat, well,
Meat.
meat, yeah. These zombies eat brains.
Meat.
We gotta stop referencing Slither. That movie's fine, but the meat thing just keeps coming back. Meat.
Okay. It's an hour and 29 minutes long.
Okay.
It's rated R.
Hell yeah.
Review scores. IMDb gave it a 5.7 out of 10. Tomato meter. You know what? We're gonna skip the audience score. Audience score 44%. What do you think What do you think the tomato meter gave it? What do you think the critics rated this film?
Oh, it's probably low, cause like I like Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
But it's not a critic film. It's fun.
No, it's fun, and it's super like inventive. Like it created a bunch of tropes for zombies.
Yeah. 11%. Lower?
I'm nodding.
2.
Higher.
5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Don't act like that's better.
Well, look. I'm only saying this because we watched the first one and I liked it. And I'm more okay with a zombie film not being a like, because if it's just like critics don't like it because it's sort of a nothing movie where you watch a bunch of zombies just get annihilated, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, Ben's. Oh no. Okay. This better not be a Halloween 5 situation.
How do I put this in the least spoilery way possible? Okay, so you know how sometimes there's sequels that really slap,
Yeah.
like are really good,
Oh yeah.
like Aliens?
Yeah, like
you
fucking
haven't
Star
seen?
Wars Episode 5.
Yeah. And you know how sometimes there's sequels that don't do that?
Yeah.
Well, this might be one of those.
But then there's like 6 of these after. There's like
yeah.
they made a bunch after the sequel flopped this hard.
Yeah.
Okay, that's normally not how it works, but okay.
All right. For awards, it has 3 nominations. Notable actors: Michael Kenworthy as Jesse Wilson, played Kevin Penny in The Blob, the 1988 remake.
Ooh, we're watching that eventually.
Susan Snyder as Brenda. She played Debbie Stone in Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh, but I don't want to watch that.
Bob doesn't like clowns.
I don't like clowns
Or
or space.
Or space.
So that seems like a bad combination.
Or
I'm
in.
cool with
Or
killers.
from.
Killers are fine, but clowns in space. Ugh.
Marsha, I'm going to say Diet Lean. Or Ditlean. It's Diet and then Lein.
I have no idea. Don't ask me.
As Lucy Wilson. She played Venus in Getting Grace. Jonathan Terry as Colonel. He was Starker in Bob's favorite Halloween film, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
I don't remember who that is.
One of the goons.
Okay, that makes sense.
Dana Ashbrook as Tom Essex, played Bobby Briggs from Twin Peaks. He was on there from 1989 to 91, and he's in 30 episodes.
Damn.
Alan Trotman as Tarman. Back,
Hell
baby.
yeah. He's back.
He was also Tarman in the original.
Oh, they kept the same Tarman actor.
Yeah, Tarman
That's
in
sick.
The Return of the Living Dead. Because it's basically, I think I've told you this before, which is why I was comfortable telling you. Now, Tarman's kind of like the mascot of this franchise, because he's just such an iconic-looking zombie.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's also the first zombie we see talk
Mm-hmm.
and, like, do stuff. So it makes sense.
So he's basically just thrown in most of the films as kind of like I don't want to say Easter egg, but essentially.
Yeah.
It's like the Pizza Planet truck in Pixar movies.
Mm-hmm.
Don Maxwell is Billy's dad. He was Coach Ostro in A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Child.
Oh, which one is that? That sounds like a later one.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't either.
It's like
because
4
3's
or
Dream
5?
Warriors.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Dream Child comes in. We got to watch those at some point.
Philip Bruns as Doc Mandel. He played Frank Zabo in Flashdance. And then finally, Mitch Pileggi as Sarge. He was Walter Skinner from The X-Files. From 1994 to 2018, he was on 91 episodes.
Damn.
All right. Writer and director is Ken Wiederhorn. He also wrote and directed Dark Tower along with a bunch of other people. It's a movie. There was just 2 directors and multiple writers.
That's a good sign.
Yeah. Budget on this film is estimated at $6.2 million.
God bless.
With a box office return of 9.2.
Oh. Yikes.
Technically a success.
Technically, it made
anything
money.
Anything over your
budget
investment is a success. It's just you want a return of
at least double
for it to be counted as like a financial success enough to get a sequel.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Oh. I don't remember how well Return did originally because we watched that in season 1, so I can't fucking remember.
I can look it up really quick.
Not good. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't, I don't even, like, by comparison, at least, that is god-awful. Like, yeah, $9 million is a lot of money, and you only made $3 million off the entire movie in profit, but that is not a lot.
Return was $4 million estimated, 14.2 return.
Yeah, almost 4 times.
Yeah.
And this movie barely made, like, a little over what it spent.
Yeah, not as great.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. Country of Origin, United States, also known as Revenge of the Living Dead. That was the promotional title.
Okay.
Which is why my little description was they're back for revenge.
Yeah.
Okay. Tagline, which I think great tagline here. Just when you thought it was safe to be dead.
Not bad.
That's it. I have no facts on this movie at all.
How do you have none?
I couldn't find anything interesting.
People hated it so much, they erased all record of it from the internet. Oh my god. Has that ever happened? I don't think that's ever
We've
happened.
gotten kind of close before, but I pulled stuff out of my ass. This time I was like, not worth it.
Really?
Not worth it.
Holy shit. All right. Damn.
Like, there's some stuff I think we'll be able to talk about after it's done.
yeah.
But, like, without owning a Blu-ray, there wasn't anything I could, like, easily find and confirm enough to feel confident saying.
Okay.
But also from what I could find is, like, there hasn't been a lot of, like, retrospectives or anything about this film.
Damn.
Kind of just faded.
Okay. But, like, I know people like the later ones in the series a lot.
Well, people like this franchise. I don't know if you've heard anything about this movie.
I don't know anything about this movie.
So we'll talk about this movie in a couple seconds.
I guess, yeah, this might just be, like, a Halloween 4, 5, and 6 situation.
I haven't seen 6 yet.
I haven't seen 6,
He's just
but
not looking forward to it.
I learned something about 6, and I'm mad.
He learned the epithet to the film.
And now I don't want to watch it.
Because he heard the... This isn't even a spoiler because it's the name of the film.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of is. I hate when they do, like, really spoilery.
Yeah,
Epithet.
it is a spoiler, but
But-
it's not.
Warning. It's Halloween 6, The Cult of Michael Myers, which got Bob mad because he was like, it's a fucking cult movie.
It's stupid.
All
Get
right.
out of here.
We're going to go watch this film.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We just finished Return of the Living Dead Part 2. We gotta stop.
Why?
This can't keep happening. I hate sequels sometimes. Like, I hate that people go, this movie was cool, let's make a second one.
Sequels are a mixed bag because, especially sequels in, like, really big franchises,
Yeah.
because you get to a point where how closely that film is associated not only with, like, the original creators and cast, but how closely that film is associated with, like, even the original concept becomes really distant. And so you end up with films that are, like, they're either not at the same quality at all or feel like completely different films and franchises eventually. But usually that happens, like, 5 or 6 films in.
Yeah.
Or at least 3 or 4. It's happened on 2. Spoilers, guys. But
Yeah.
not a good movie.
Yeah.
I have my personal biases, but before we get into any of this, I'm just gonna say I don't like it.
It is disappointing. Very disappointing. Coming from a perspective of, I just watched Return of the Living Dead and I liked it. I'm gonna watch part 2. Don't do that.
Yeah,
You'll be sad. You'll be very sad.
Bob's in a better place because, like, we've had some, like, it's been some time since we watched Return.
Oh yeah, we watched Return in the first season.
And also,
so it's been like 8 months,
I
man.
kind of gave him some warnings. You heard him
Yeah.
about how maybe the quality of this film, and also he had the review scores and everything. So he was kind of expecting it to not be as good. I would like to share my fun story of I watched Return of the Living Dead for the first time, loved it. It was my jam. And then I was like, I want to watch the second one and put this movie on. And, like, immediately after, didn't look at anything, just put it on. And the best thing I can do to describe my experience is the amount of confusion I had.
Oh my god.
Because I put this movie on and I went, this is not, I must have put on the wrong film. It's a Blackwater situation. It was not. It was the right film, and I was disappointed. So, on that note, I just want to say, no bueno.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I can do a description, right?
It's not that complicated, so sure.
No. In fact, it's like a shittier version of the first film,
Yeah.
basically plot-wise and everything that happens-wise.
Yeah.
Basically, it starts with an army truck driving down the road, and there's a bump hit, and for whatever reason, the army's super incompetent in this film. Like, cartoon levels incompetent.
Oh yeah.
And I just want to mention it now. That's kind of a thing you'll notice throughout this film, is that this film is like a fucking cartoon. The first film's funny.
Yeah.
Return is funny, but it's funny in like a dark comedy kind of way, to the point where it's dark and it's gritty and it's grim, but because some of the things are like so dark and fucked up, they make you laugh.
Oh yeah.
Like the fact that I'm going to spoil some things for Return right here. So warnings, because that's a much better film if you haven't seen that at this point.
Go watch Return if
I'm
you haven't
sorry.
seen it.
But one of the jokes in that film, really, really funny, is the doctor.
Yeah.
I say doctor, he's a mortician. But there's little references scattered throughout the entire film that he's just an escaped Nazi
He definitely is.
Who-
Like, I'll buy it.
now lives as a mortician and runs a funerary home and also, very fucked up, but cremation center.
Yeah.
Super fucking dark, but also funny because it's fucked up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how that film is. And it works. It really does. This film was like, oh, that film's funny. Let's make a comedy movie
And
not a horror movie.
It's not even funny.
So I just wanted to say that right out of the bat because it's kind of irritating.
Kind of
Especially-
irritating. It was pissing me off.
Yeah, Bob. There was this gradual descent of Bob trying to give this film the benefit of the doubt, as I was just like, I hate this. This is the worst. This is
Yeah.
why I hate this. And Bob was just like, no, it's okay. And then it progressively became more of, no, I'm done. How much longer is left?
Yeah. 'cause-
Okay.
Yeah.
we can talk about it in a second, but I do have to actually describe the plot. I got off on a tangent. So the army's like cartoonishly incompetent. And basically they're driving like the Humvees that have like, they look like the Oregon Trail wagon cars. You know what I'm talking about, where it's like the cloth canvas tops.
Yeah.
Anyways, they have the barrels, from the first movie, strapped down in those. Except they're more high-tech now. They have like a keypad and stuff. Assumedly, they're barrels of zombies from the Return incident, which they somehow managed to contain.
Yeah.
It's not really explained. But they put the barrels in a truck that very specifically has an almost open back and only like a pickup truck style like closing gap, which is already really stupid because the barrels, the halfway point on the barrels is above where the door is in the back of the truck. So very clearly they can fall out. So shouldn't have put them in that truck to begin with. But then they have a strap that's keeping them
the
in.
strap is so loose.
And the strap is, to begin with, way too loose. And so, of course, they hit the tiniest bump imaginable. And not one, not two, but three barrels fall off the truck, and no one notices. Why? Because for whatever reason, in this long convoy of trucks carrying literally world-ending chemicals, because trioxin is quite literally the scariest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if I'm talking, like, horror substances from, like, movies,
It's pretty high up there.
trioxin is probably the one I do not want to fuck with above everything else. Because 2,4,5 trioxin not only is toxic and kills you immediately, but it's also just, like, indestructible.
Can't get rid of it.
Well.
Anyways.
I hate this movie so much. Anyways, 3 barrels fall out. 2 of them just fall on the road.
Don't
and
know
kind
where
of
they went.
fall over in the ditch. Assumedly, they're recovered. And one of them we get to see in a slow-mo freeze frame fall into the water. The implication here, later on, but I just need to point it out because it's so stupid, is that this barrel assumedly floats down the river.
Into like a
This
sewer drain.
Metal barrel
Yeah.
that is definitely much too heavy somehow floats super far downstream. So far downstream that the military can't find it. I hate it. Anyways, that's the cold open. There's some good music in the cold open.
Yeah. It reminds me of Return.
That's
like
the only
original.
time we'll have that good music.
Oh.
And then we pick up with the main character of this film. And, I don't know, 10-year-old child?
I would say 11. 11 or 12, maybe.
And if that seems like a poor decision to have a child as the main character of a dark movie about zombies eating people,
It is.
it is. This film, the best way I can describe it is it feels like a Goosebumps movie,
Yeah.
both in quality of writing and in humor and casting choices and horror.
Yeah.
But anyways, this kid gets dragged to a cemetery by these 2
Bullies.
bullies
Friends, kind of.
who might actually be his friends. It's kind of hard to tell
Yeah.
because they're being dicks and like bullying him, right?
But he wants to be friends with them because
But he also lent them his comic book
Yeah.
willingly. Anyways, they drag him to a cemetery to like scare him, which okay, they're like 11, I get. And our main character kid runs away. And I want you to know I'm calling him main character kid because I don't know any of the characters' names.
His
except
name is
for
Jesse.
maybe 3. Is it Jesse?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Jesse runs away, and he hides in a sewer drain.
Yeah.
It's basically one of those storm drain areas where it's like the big pipe set in like a concrete wall that dumps into a river. But he climbs up into that and hides behind a barrel, very obviously a barrel, and is immediately found by these bullies, who then find the barrel and are like, cool, I want this. Because they wipe it off, because it's covered in dust, even though it's
Wet.
in a wet area. And when they rub the dust off, it says, property of the Army, call
Call the
Klondike
number.
5 something. And, of course, Jesse's like, we should call the Army.
You should
This is
have.
serious.
You should have.
And the other kids are like, finders keepers,
Movie could have been
loser.
over in 10 minutes.
Help us drag this into the light. And so that's what they do, because Jesse sticks around for that. And then they start banging on it,
Yeah.
and the top pops off. The top's like rounded, but it pops off and reveals the viewport, and we get to see a zombie in there. So our first look at the zombies in this film. We'll talk about them later. But Jesse runs home because like he doesn't want to be there. Because they looked into this canister and it has a fucking dead body in it.
Oh, yeah.
But the other two kids are like, if you tell on us, we'll kill you.
Yeah.
Very Stephen King right there.
Even in the sewer drain.
So he runs home, and his sister, who's like home alone with him, is like, hey, go do your homework. You're not allowed outside. And he goes up to his room and then decides to escape later that night to go check on the container. Because while he's doing homework, he sees Billy and the other kid stagger home. The reason they staggered home is because after Jesse left, they decided to take a stick and start banging this container. There's a control panel on this one. The older tanks were just welded shut.
Yeah.
Because why would you ever want to open
Why
these
would
things
you ever
again?
open it? Yeah.
There's no reason to, because they contain like the deadliest substance ever. Because we learned in the first film, and they kind of say this in this film, trioxin gas burns your skin, which to me implies it can enter through your skin.
Yeah.
As well as through like everything. Super scary shit. Wouldn't ever want to release it.
No.
For whatever reason, there's a control panel on this, and they hit the can once with a stick. Not even, I want to stress, on the control panel, and
Okay.
yet the glass breaks.
Okay, I will say this. I get what you're upset about this, but in the first film, Frank slaps that bitch one good time and it bursts open.
Yes, he did. However, in the first film, we know that these canisters are from the original zombie incident, right?
Okay, that's fair.
And that original zombie incident, we know happened years before Night of the Living Dead, the movie, was made.
Yeah.
Because that movie was based on that event. So,
Probably in the 40s or 50s. So that canister's probably like 40 or 50 years old.
yeah, it has been sitting in a basement under the stairs where there's definitely water dripping and everything. Basically, it was a rusty, non-well taken care of canister, and he banged it really hard because it's under pressure and it exploded.
Sure.
This one has a literal control panel to open it up.
I was
And not
trying
only-
to give the movie a little bit.
No, because they bang the canister on the metal, and for whatever reason, the glass over the control button breaks. Which also, why is there glass over the control button? It's a control button. You need to access it. It was sealed.
Not even like a flip. It's
No,
literally
it's
under-
bolted glass on there that apparently breaks at the weakest touch, but not falling into the river. Anyways, it's about to get stupider because Billy beep boops it. He literally hits 4-5.
and it opens.
It does, except it shouldn't have, because it starts blinking red, which is the universal response for that's not the password.
Yeah.
Except it goes all the way red and starts dumping the chemicals out of the can.
Yeah.
First of all, way too much for that size can.
Oh yeah.
Like enough to fill this tomb that they're standing in and the cemetery that just happens to be right next door. So stupid, because there's also a green light on there, which to me implies that A, the proper pin should have been green, and green's the thing that would release, like open the can, right?
Yeah.
That's not just me. But also, either the implication here is you get the wrong password and the
it
can
kills
opens, which doesn't make sense. Or for whatever reason, they somehow got the right password immediately, and it's only 45. Anyways, those kids stumble home, and Jesse sees them later. And that's why he goes to check up on the can later, gets the number written down on a piece of paper, and also sees that, like, the viewport's been broken open,
Yeah.
and we get to see our Tarman cameo, which isn't as good as the original Tarman.
No, not as good.
I will say, I think it's the best looking zombie in this movie.
Probably, yeah.
Probably.
More than likely.
But I'll talk about the zombies later, but I'm not necessarily a fan. And this one specifically, I do think the original Tarman's better, and I'll talk about that when I'm talking about zombie effects. But I do want to get through this
Description.
description for it's such a simple movie, but I'm going hard on it because like I think there's a lot of issues.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of problems.
And that's something we need to talk about. Anyways, obviously after the Tarman cameo, Jesse runs home again and freaks out about, like, there being zombies in the cemetery, even though he only sees one.
Yeah.
I want to say he doesn't call it a zombie,
Nope. They only call them zombies a single time in this whole movie.
and it is in the last 30 seconds of
Yeah.
the film, which makes no sense because this exists in the same universe as Return
And Night of the Living Dead.
and Night of the
And
Living Dead.
assumedly Dawn of the Dead.
But it lives in a universe where Night of the Living Dead, the movie, existed.
That's what I'm saying. So at this point, Dawn had come out.
And so in this universe, the idea of zombies in pop culture exists, so there's no reason to not call them zombies. They
Because
also
they're very much clearly zombies.
They also, and I'm gonna mention this now, never like purposely shoot zombies in the head.
Nope.
Even though that's a pretty common like
Yeah.
idea in pop culture of like that's how you kill a zombie,
It's established in Night of the Living Dead.
and are somehow weirded out that the zombies don't die.
Yeah.
When they shoot them. Anyways, Jesse runs home. He tells his sister, "Oh, there's dead people in the cemetery, but they're coming back to life." And the sister locks him in his room with a jump rope,
Or something.
a rope. I don't know.
She ties his door shut.
And I also want to mention at this point that she's not alone in the house. There's this random guy who she used to go to high school with that she doesn't remember, who's very clearly into her and is set up solely as a romantic character for her.
Yeah.
It's super obvious.
He's there, like, fixing the TV or some shit.
And, Jesse's locked in his room, and he manages to escape, and he calls the army. But obviously, right as he calls the army and is about to contact the man in charge, the phones go out. It's just, like, the worst writing ever. Like,
Well, the phones go out for a specific reason, which we haven't
they
gotten
go
to.
out for a specific reason. But A, it's a stupid reason.
It's dumb. It's very dumb.
And B, the timing is just lazy
Impeccable.
writing.
It's impeccable.
It's just lazy writing. And yeah, what follows is exactly what you think. It's our small group of survivors surviving, and they go from the house to a next door house to find a car. And then they meet our next main character, which is the doctor,
Who sucks?
who sucks. He's not as good as the Nazi doctor.
No, I even said during the thing, I want the Nazi back. Like, that's not a thing I should be saying.
That's a quote from Papa with the Nazi back.
No, don't take that out of context.
But see, like, he isn't even like a real character. First of all, he's a cartoon, like
No,
most of the
bro,
characters in this film.
exactly.
But he literally just makes quips and
That's all he does.
doesn't actually take the situation seriously.
He also doesn't do anything.
No, the first zombie he sees, he goes, "Oh, that's what's his name? He was my patient. I'm sorry, it's not my fault. We didn't have type O." Like, recognizes this is a dead man, but doesn't recognize the situation he's in of, "Oh shit, I'm gonna get eaten by a zombie."
Yeah.
Stupid.
Oh,
Long story
God.
short, they go to a hospital. They leave the hospital. They go to the police station.
They leave the police
They
station.
leave to the police station. They go back to the hospital.
They go to their grandpa's house to get guns at
They
some point.
leave their grandpa's house, go to a meat packing place, get meat, and then set a trap for the zombies. And then save the day, everything's saved.
For
the end.
In the last one, they had to nuke everybody.
Yeah. But no, these 4 people,
Killed
3 of
every
them
zombie.
children, and one of them a
85-year-old man.
cartoon character of an old man, managed to save the day and do what the army can't. And it all ends on a happy note.
Yep.
Stupid.
Stupid.
That's the summary. That sounds good to you. Okay, I guess. You can watch it if you want.
You can watch it if
I'm
you
not
want.
going to tell you can't.
I just don't recommend it.
Yeah. So that's the summary. We're going to get into some spoilers now.
Even though we basically just spoiled the whole movie.
No, but we did leave some things out.
We left some stuff out, but like,
And look, you can watch this film if you want to. And in fact, like if you're a Return fan, this is in the franchise. And while I don't like it as a Return fan, I really, really don't like it.
yeah.
It is a part of like that franchise and is for that reason potentially worth a watch. And it is also a film, and I always recommend watching a film without spoilers because that is the proper way to watch anything.
Fair.
There is some silver linings to this film that are worth going in blind.
I don't even know.
And
I
by
don't even
some,
know
I'd
if it's
say
worth it.
There's one silver lining here.
I don't even know if it's worth it.
He's right. It might not even be worth it. But because of that, I'm going to give you the warning here of you don't want any spoilers. Now's the time to like go watch the movie.
I don't even want to say it.
Okay. So on that note, I'm going to go into the spoiler territory, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So there's one part of this movie that potentially makes it worthwhile. Probably not, but it's the best part of this movie.
It's the best part of this movie.
And it's something I left off the beginning here because it would have given it away.
Yeah, I keep getting stuff. You keep doing that, and then I keep seeing names in the
I know.
in the credits when they roll at the start of the film.
See, my issue is, well, A, that's an issue. Obviously, you can tell it's an actor thing. There's actors in this that are kind of super cool. But that's actually a big issue I have with like older films because it used to be a requirement from I think it was the Screen Actors Guild,
Yeah,
where they had to put
the credits at the start.
the credits at the start, and then I forget what film it was. Just said "fuck you," no, and then everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is so much better." Like audiences were,
Really?
yeah, and
I don't
also
know. I kind of enjoy the opening scroll.
audiences were like, "This is so much better." And then I think what basically happened, the Screen Actors Guild was like, "You weren't allowed to do that," and the big studio was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
The Screen Actors Guild was like, "Oh,
Huh.
Like, I guess my point is, I understand why, like, the reasoning behind that is because, like, If you have the credits the front half, you
Everyone
have to
has
sit
to see
through
it.
them.
Yeah.
And I also think it's kind of nice because like you can get some really pretty opening shots and framing stuff that serves a purpose
Yeah.
because it's to hold all this like information.
I also think it gives movies, and I've noticed this, it gives movies more of like an intro sequence basically because they
Yeah.
kind of have to do something with the opening like credits.
But I hate that it was a qualification because it forced films to do it even when they could have done something else. And
Fair.
I think having restrictions always kind of sucks.
That's
because
fair.
a film could still do that nowadays. You could still have that same style of like opening, like thematic opening, and just not have the credits there, which I think is a lot more freeing because then you can make that sequence like 30 seconds instead of 5 minutes because we haven't watched a bad one. There are some bad ones, though.
Really?
For intro. I've sat through some where I'm like, this is basically the credits after a movie, but before.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it can be a real problem sometimes. But long story short, one of my biggest problems with that idea is that it can sometimes give away pretty large amounts of information.
Yeah.
Because
it
they
did in this
had
one.
to. Because they'll be like, oh, and featuring so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler for, like, the Halloween franchise here. For a movie we've already reviewed at this point. But, you know, at the end of Halloween 2,
Yeah.
it's implied that Michael Myers and Dr. Loomis die.
Yeah.
And in the
Opening scroll for Halloween
scroll
4.
credits for Halloween 4, they say, and featuring Donald Pleasance.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because it's such a cool setup because you don't know
Yeah.
he's alive.
You don't.
Spoiler. But you don't know he's alive.
I mean, it happened when we watched Halloween
And
4,
that's-
and I was literally like, oh, hell yeah.
That's such a great reveal if he had come on screen and it's like, there he is.
Mm-hmm.
But
especially
instead it's
the
like,
way they do it in 4. Because
instead
you don't
it's-
see him for the first, like, 15
no,
minutes.
because it's set up to be like a thematically like cool reveal.
Yeah.
Nah, it's revealed in the opening scroll credits.
Yeah.
Super dumb. I hate it. I'm glad they switched because now it's an option.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to, you could do it that way. Most people don't because it just makes more sense to put it at the end. Because, like, when you do it at the beginning, it's interfering with the art. Anyways, two people that are in this film that we didn't mention before, James Karen and Tom Matthews, who are very specifically...
Frank
Mhm.
and Freddy from
Yeah.
Return of the Living Dead.
who are, honestly, still might be the best part of that movie.
Yeah, they're
I
pretty
don't know.
great.
They're just really funny. They're, Freddy is, like, the teenager who has, like... It's a pinwheel hat, basically,
It's a
right?
pinwheel hat, yeah.
And Frank's his boss at Unita Supply Co. And they have the best, like, it's probably one of the funniest, like, buddy cop kind of
It's
things
not even
going
buddy
on.
cop. It's just two bumbling idiots.
It's two bumbling idiots, but it's very funny because they just have such, it's not even chemistry, but such a great back and forth.
yeah,
And anyways, they're in this film. They're different characters. James Karen, who played
Frank.
I'm so bad with names. I hate it. Anyways, James Karen, who played Frank in this movie, is Ed.
Yep.
If you're wondering other things he's been in, he was Martin Fromm in The Pursuit of Happiness, and then Tom Matthews in this movie. Well, he was
He was
Freddy in the last one, but he's Joey in this one.
Yep.
Has also done some other things. Brick Bardo in Blood Match. But the thing everyone knows him for is Tommy Jarvis in Friday the 13th Part 6. I love Friday the 13th. Bob's never seen him, really.
Nope. I've seen a remake or
But
something or the other.
He plays the Tommy Jarvis that basically everyone's familiar with.
Yeah.
Like, I think when most people think Tommy Jarvis, they think of very specifically Tom Matthews' portrayal.
Yeah, and also he's the one that they chose for the game as well.
Yeah. Like,
So, like,
you can tell how much it
He's
is.
Tommy Jarvis for a lot of people.
And I bring it up both because probably his most famous role, but also because he'd already done it at this point.
Yeah.
He did that in, I think, 1986.
Yeah, that's what you said it was earlier.
And this film is
1988.
in 1988. So he is coming off of, like, that association. And I mention that because
He looks just like him.
he looks just like it. Like, his outfit is very heavily inspired. Like, he has what was that? Like a puff vest kind of thing on.
Mm-hmm.
Looks a lot like a...
Well, because Tommy Jarvis wears, like, the hunting vest.
Yeah, it's like a bomber jacket hunting
Yeah.
vest thing. And this looks kind of similar. Anyways, Ed and Joey in this film are basically the two same characters as they were in Return.
Yeah.
And they basically follow the same character arc as they did in that movie.
And it's really funny.
And it's really funny because you just get to see the same thing again. And the issue there is it's the same thing again, done not as well,
Yeah.
but it's a little silver lining in this film.
It's still enjoyable, at least.
I really like to see that in the first movie. Frank and Freddy it's so funny.
It's so good.
And so getting to see at least a little taste of that again is, I'd almost say, worth a watch. It's hammed up a lot more in this film.
Yeah,
because like both actors are calling it in. Like you can tell they're not giving it their all, but they're still giving it enough, and that at least gives me something. Like it's fun. It's just not as well done.
yeah, and I think they ham it up because this movie tries to be funny.
Yeah,
It tries way too hard to be funny.
but in a not good way.
No, it's not enjoyable.
But I think it's also just because the actors weren't having a good time.
Probably not, man.
Because they did Return.
Yeah.
3 years ago, and I'm sure had a great time doing that and made a good movie. And this one, they're probably not having a good time and knowing they're making a bad movie, and that's not fun. I didn't have any facts for this movie, in part because I couldn't find anything I could like substantiate
Fair enough.
and be like, this checks out. I'm pretty sure this is true. I will mention that I check on IMDb sometimes for facts to see if there's anything interesting. I have trouble pulling anything from there because it's a lot of times hard for me to tell where that came from because a lot of times it's like reader kind of put up there.
Yeah.
You don't have to like give your sources.
Sort of hearsay, like
Yeah.
BS.
And there's only like 4 facts for this movie on IMDb, which is shockingly low. But like the top one, I remember it because I think it was very funny, is Tom Matthews, when asked about this project, basically said his favorite part of the film was the craft services. The only thing that made it worthwhile.
Oh my god.
And if that is true, tells me a lot about why he was hamming it up.
Yeah.
Because I know he's a decent actor, and he just didn't do a good job in this.
Yeah.
Anyways, getting back to it, Ed and Joey kind of have the same character arc as they do in the original movie, just like less well done and unique.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it before, but there's less happening in it.
Uh-huh.
Basically, Ed in this one's a grave robber
Yeah.
and has basically
Hired Joey.
hired Joey. I don't know where he found Joey,
I don't either.
but it's very clearly Joey's first time, which it's that same setup of like the experienced guy and the newbie.
The new guy.
And he's basically showing him the ropes. And they're in a mausoleum, grave robbing. And as they're in the mausoleum, the smoke rolls in,
Mm-hmm.
which I just want to say the whole smoke infecting the cemetery is done a lot worse in this film.
It's not as nearly as good.
Like both in how it's shot, but also in like how it works.
It doesn't really make any sense.
Like we see the smoke roll over the graves like it's infecting them, but then immediately a storm happens. There's no buildup. It just happens.
For no reason.
But yet the storm doesn't leak into the graves and cause the dead to come back up.
Nope.
Like it does in the original. No, there's just a time skip, and then we see the smoke again,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get up.
It's also not the same color. It's white instead of the green smoke that came out of the canister.
Yeah, I mean it's supposed to be kind of white-ish. That's how it is in the original movie.
Yeah, but
But-
I don't know.
It's just a color difference of like not paying attention.
Like the setup in the original where they throw the body in the crematorium and that's what does it is so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks so much cooler
'Cause
and
it
it's so much more well shot.
Makes sense for how it multiplied like that.
Yeah. It
Also,
just ugh.
the addition of the whole cold open in the first one is like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it's a cold open.
Yeah, and then you get the title sequence.
Anyways, getting back into it, they're in the mausoleum. Some trioxin 245 kind of leaks under the door. It infects them, obviously.
Yeah.
Although this time they don't pass out
No.
or freak out or anything. There's just one line where Joey Tom Matthews' character's like, I don't know, my skin kind of is crawling.
Yeah,
It's
he's
not
like,
even
"My skin's
burning. It's just, it
like
feels
wet
cold.
and cold, yeah.
Anyways, while they're in there, the zombies start coming back to life, and they freak out, and they run for their van,
Yeah, which they don't make it to.
which, for whatever reason, they don't make it to.
Which is it's not that far.
Yeah, but it's never explained why they never go to their van.
They do too many zombies.
They instead just run the town. It doesn't make sense.
Well, they run to the nearest neighborhood.
I know, but their van was closer and also easily accessible.
There were so many fucking zombies at that point.
And as they're running to the van, they meet up with Brenda, which is Joey's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Who basically fills the same role as Freddy's girlfriend in the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to mention, because I think this is super stupid, is she was sitting in the van during all these events, but I think she got out of the van and walked into the cemetery as the trioxin rolled through and brought all the dead to life, and yet she is somehow not infected.
I think she did it after the trioxin rolled through.
She did, except how the movie's framed is the trioxin rolled through, the storm happened, and then the trioxin rolled through again.
Yeah, I guess.
But she was also in the van.
Yeah.
Vans are not airtight.
Mm-hmm.
She should have been infected. She is not.
Meh.
I know. But, long story short, for the rest of the events I described, Joey, Ed, and Brenda they're there with the 4. I just didn't mention them because they're kind of like, they have their own B-plot that's just following the original story.
Yeah.
Like, they're the reason they go to the hospital because Joey and Ed are, like,
Sick.
dying. Except they go from perfectly fine to late-stage zombie in 30 seconds.
Yeah, which is dumb. Because part of what is so good about their arc in the original is that they're fine for a while.
And it happens so slow that you can
don't
kind
really
of
notice.
not notice.
Yeah.
Even though they act like it is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they go from fine to not, like, completely gone in, like, 30 seconds. Assumedly, this might be because in universe a lot of time has passed, but it doesn't feel like it.
No.
Both how the movie is shot and also in universe, it feels like 5 minutes have passed. But then they split off from the group to go get help, during which Ed zombies out.
Yep.
So there goes James Cameron's character, which is he zombies out and then they leave him, which is so much more unappealing than how Frank goes out in the first movie.
Yeah.
How Frank goes out is
awesome.
awesome
kinda
and hard to watch.
It's hard to watch, but it's so good.
And it's such a good characterization.
Yeah.
And how he goes out in this movie is he bites someone's skull and then that's it. Then
Yep.
they just leave him.
Yep. Brendan just leaves him.
And then later in the film, Joey becomes a full zombie, chases Brenda into a church, which, again, an exact scene reference. There's a lot of that through their story.
Yeah.
Basically, their story, it feels like they needed to pad time in this movie. And they were like, what if we told this really fun part from Return again?
Mm-hmm. But worse.
But worse. But yeah, Joey chases her into a church, corners her, and he's like, but I love you. Shouldn't I have your brains? I can't even do. How was the voice?
I don't even know. Brenda.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. Brenda, I love you, Brenda. Can I have your brains? Stupidest voice possible. Like, he does a better voice in the original
He
one.
does a way better voice in the original.
You can tell he's not trying, like, honestly. He's like, shouldn't I have your brains? And Brenda goes, okay.
Sure.
Lets him eat her brains. So stupid.
Oh, we haven't even talked. Oh, God.
All right. I just wanted to share that B-plot happens. It's the only thing that I think is decent in this film.
And there are a couple of references to, like...
There is one super good joke through that whole B-plot.
Well, there's two.
But the best joke in that whole B-plot, super spoilers here,
Yeah.
because this is like the one thing I would say is worth not knowing in advance,
Yeah.
is Ed goes, this feels like, what, a dream?
Yeah.
And Joey's like, no, man, it does feel like a dream. Like, we've been here before and done this.
There's also the other joke while they're in the mausoleum, but I don't want to spoil that because that kind of spoils how Frank dies in the original.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one made me laugh.
There's a couple really good references to those characters in the first movie throughout that B-plot, but it feels thrown in.
Yeah.
And also just not as good as the original. But it's a fun reference if you're an actual fan of the original movie and not this one. All right. So moving on from that, I think there's a couple things I want to talk about with this film. And by talk about, I mean kind of shit on, but we can talk about them a little bit. We've talked about kind of how the tone and it's comedic and cartoonish and not good.
It doesn't work, man. It just doesn't work.
Like, besides the fact that it's cartoony in a way that makes it not serious and the stakes are hard to take seriously.
It feels like nothing matters, man.
Yeah, no, nothing does matter. Because throughout the film, Jesse's his name, right?
Yeah.
The little kid main character just runs off, gets into danger, and then is miraculously fine because he's the main character kid.
Yeah.
And
he gets nabbed by so many zombies and does not get ripped apart.
Don't bite him solely because he's the main character.
Yeah.
Like, just like
hella
hold him at
plot
arm
armor.
distance. Lots of stuff like that. And it also defeats like the horror in the film. Like
It's
there's
not
no
scary.
horror elements at all. And it's not funny. It's just a
No.
nothing movie. Again, it feels like a really, really, really bad Goosebumps episode. And the only reason I describe it as that is not because Goosebumps are like objectively a bad series.
No, there are some good Goosebumps episodes.
But because this focus on like a little kid
Mm-hmm.
and also how stuff looks kind of is reminiscent
Mm-hmm.
and some of the tone stuff. Additionally, it's just the sheer fact that this movie shouldn't have been rated R.
No, absolutely
I'm
not.
pretty sure it got a rated R movie for the language.
Yeah, kid says fuck.
And the gore is not super graphic,
No,
but it is gore, and this is also 88, and it's enough to push this to like a PG-13.
it should be PG-13.
But if you got rid of the gore, which is there's not enough
There's
of
not
it,
enough of it at
like
all.
you could have just removed the gore entirely and had the same film.
Yeah,
Because in total, there's maybe 2 minutes of gore at that. It's not great.
there are some cool moments.
There's some cool moments because they're pulled off in interesting ways.
Yeah.
Like impressive ways. But they're not necessarily the best looking.
Yeah,
And like if you got rid of those less than 2 minutes of gore and the language, this straight up could have been a PG film, both in tone and content.
Yeah.
So that aside, what I want to talk about are the practical effects on the zombies. I don't like them. I don't. I think you had some slightly different opinions to me
meh.
at first.
It just depended on so here's my thing with this one. Some of the zombies are cool. Some of them look like shit. And
Yeah.
it's a wide spectrum. So it just depended in the moment when you asked what zombie I was looking at.
Although, I would argue that none of the zombies look cool. Some of them just look okay.
Fair enough.
Part of this is because I feel like the zombies kind of clash with the tone anyways, and it's hard for me to take them seriously in
They also-
any way.
Just or look, some of them just walk and act so fucking goofy.
Yeah, because of the tone, the zombies get away with, like, acting super goofy.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second. That's its own discussion. Yeah. We're just talking about appearance right now. Bob did a visual
I was
gag
miming
on
something really stupid.
the audio podcast. Anyways, I think my big issue with the practical effects for, like, the zombies and their makeup is they chose to do it like additive makeup
Yeah.
rather than subtractive. So when you're doing, like, prosthetic makeup and stuff for, like, a human, you're always adding on to a person, right? Because you can't legally start removing things from a human being.
Yeah.
That's not okay. Now, you can hire actors that are, like, missing an arm if you need someone who's missing an arm.
Sure.
But usually what's done is you take a person and you add stuff to their body that makes it look like there's less there.
Yep.
It's honestly a hard thing to do because it shouldn't work, but people have gotten really, really good at doing it and making it look real. I think going back, Tarman's a very good example of that
Oh,
from
yeah.
Return, because he looks like all the flesh is melted off his body
Mhm.
and all that's left is, like, bone and just scraps
Yeah.
hanging off.
His skull's exposed.
And yet that's an amazing addition of, like, adding stuff onto a person that makes it look like there's less there. Because that's stuff on top of a person.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, like, a good example. And that's just, like, how all the zombies are in that film.
Yeah.
Not all of them. There's one that's just, like, straight up a skeleton with eyes.
Which is probably my favorite.
And there's also some that are, like, mechanical that you can take off a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
The very famous one is the old lady.
Yeah. Oh, that one's so
that-
cool.
That's a practical, like, mechanical. But a lot of zombies, you just add stuff that makes it look like there's less there, like a gaping wound and stuff. This film added stuff, but did not succeed in making it look like there was less there.
Yeah.
And so instead, all the zombies looked bulky in a
Mhm.
not good way, or at least in a way I didn't enjoy. So going back to Tarman, I do think he looked the most visually impressive out of
Yeah.
all the zombies.
That's
like
fair.
He was super unique because it's Tarman.
Tarman, like,
He's a melted, tarry, gooey mess, but he looked beefy.
he's
Like,
huge.
He looked like just the skin dissolved
Mm-hmm.
and all the flesh was still there. And it just does not look as good as, like, the bony, kind of raggy
No, because you can
original
basically
one.
tell he's in a suit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
It
look
looks
great.
chonky. And at least there was kind of some success in removing some.
Yeah.
Like, he looked huge, but at least it looked like stuff was missing.
Yeah, you could see his, like, exposed rib cage, and it was fine okay.
Most of the zombies in this film, they put makeup on them that just made them look bigger.
They're just huge.
And the place where it was the worst was the faces. A lot of them
Yeah.
just looked like they were wearing masks, and that was, like, kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it would make their heads look really big in a very not good looking way.
Yeah, and another thing I have while we're on the topic of their fucking faces, because most of them are look like they're just wearing masks or just are wearing masks. The zombies in this, like they do in Return, they talk, and a lot of their voices have to be 80 yard over, and it's done so fucking poorly.
Yeah, because a lot of zombies, I either can't move their mouths at all because of the mask, or
Yep.
their mouths are covered.
Mm-hmm.
And so all their sounds are 80 yard in.
And it's ass.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, most of the zombies look bulky and it doesn't look good. The best looking zombies, are not focused on, I
No.
thought, but are also the ones that have minimal makeup. It's just
Mhm.
like colorizing their skin. I thought those looked okay,
Yeah.
but I still couldn't take them seriously because of how they act and also how this film is shot. And also, they're surrounded by not good looking zombies. They're surrounded by not good looking zombies, so they just kind of look out of place. And so it's kind of an issue of they might look better to me than these zombies that are focused on, but because they don't match, they look bad.
Yeah, that's fair.
In a similar vein, there's also not that many zombies in this film.
Not really.
I think by the end, it's basically just the zombies in the initial cemetery.
Yeah.
They just somehow managed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. And so it looks like there's a lot more than there is, except you're very clearly able to notice that it's the same.
It's the same, like, 20 or 30
It's-
zombies.
Yeah, it's only like 20 zombies over and over again, which kind of sucks,
Yeah.
to be honest. Because what's so cool about the original one is there's a horde,
They're so
and
fucking
they're
many.
different.
They all look different, yeah.
Also, the zombies in this look too distinct sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, they have outfits that, I'm going to say this now, this film's very clearly inspired by Dawn,
Mm-hmm.
And so in Dawn, one of the cool things they do is they have zombies that have very clearly different themed outfits.
Mm-hmm.
This movie does that, but does not pull it off, so it just looks goofy.
Yeah. It's like cartoonish levels of like outfit changes, basically.
Like there's one that very clearly it looks like a grown woman, but she's dressed as a child carrying a teddy bear.
Yeah, like what is happening?
But yeah, so that's kind of like the zombie makeup. Now there is a couple other zombies in this film. I think there's only like 3 or 4 that are animatronic.
Those are pretty cool.
And the animatronics are impressive.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to say that. They are impressive animatronics.
They were probably the coolest part like of the zombies in this film.
Yeah. With that being said, I did have an issue with them. First of all, don't think they look as good as the animatronics in Return.
Yeah, they're not as
the
good.
old woman, the really, really famous old woman one, looks amazing.
Oh, it's awesome.
And
so
there is
cool.
very specifically one of the animatronic zombies that's very clearly inspired by her.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God.
And just while they are like the same design, it looks so much worse.
It looks like something you would see at like a carnival.
Yeah.
In like a haunted house or something.
That's the thing I want to say about the animatronics is while they are impressive animatronics and you can tell a lot of work went into designing them, like how they look and everything.
Yeah.
And it actually looks fairly impressive. They all look too artificial and clean.
Yeah.
Like you can very clearly tell they're made out of like
Rubber
and silicone.
plastic. Yeah.
They have this weird, I don't want to say shine to them, but like gloss.
Mm-hmm. They look too. But this movie's not nearly gross enough to be a zombie film.
But all the animatronics look too artificial.
They need to take those animatronics and dunk them in a bucket of goo and then pull them out, and maybe
Not
it'll look
even
okay.
that. They just need to beat them up some.
Yeah.
They just look too shiny and new. And to me, it took what should have been a good-looking effect, probably the best in the film, and made it bad. Like, laughable. Because it just looks fake. So beyond fake. And I love practical effects. I love animatronic stuff. And to see that is kind of sad.
Disappointing.
Because I can tell a lot of work went into it.
Yeah, and if they had just like added a little bit of like gross or grit to it,
Just
it could
grime.
look amazing. Like straight up. I don't want to spoil it, but there's one where like there's something walking around that should not be, and it looks awesome. Could just be so much cooler.
Yeah,
if
it's
they
just
had
like
added some
extra
something.
work, and they just didn't do it.
Yeah.
Additionally, when we're talking about gross stuff, the closest we get to gross stuff is like they replaced the zombie blood with green goo.
Yeah.
And it just looks cartoony. Like it fits the tone.
It does fit the
But
tone.
I don't like that tone. It's bad.
Yep. Tone don't
All right,
work.
Jumping from that tone thing, we can get into how the zombies behave.
Oh my god.
First of all, they're straight up cartoon characters.
Yeah. There are some really, really stupid, goofy zombie bits at the start.
But
like when you first see them coming out of the cemetery, one of them literally burps up like a trioxin gas cloud. And it's like, why is this in this film?
But see, the thing is, like, in Return, the things we know about the zombies, they're constantly in pain.
Yeah. That's why they moan.
My read of the movie is it's implied that their pain causes them to act like zombies because they're basically in so much pain that they can't function well. Do you think that's a decent read of the situation?
That's the whole reason why, like, when Frank and Ed and Freddy are being turned, they're experiencing rigor mortis, so that's why they move so stiffly and, like, can't do everything they're supposed to.
And then once they're in a lot of pain, they stop acting like humans.
Yeah.
But in this film, they moan and groan, like, a lot, which very clearly felt like an inspiration from Dawn of the Dead, where the dead scream.
Mm-hmm.
No, that was Day, right?
No, they scream in Dawn.
Yeah, I guess that's true. See, it felt like a very inspirational from that, because I think the ones in Return are more silent.
Yeah.
They'd make noise sometimes, but they just act like, I don't want to say like normal people, but
they do though.
a lot more. They act like normal people pretending to be zombies.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Like they do this weird like shuffle thing that looks very clearly like the director's like, play a zombie.
Yep.
And it just looks super artificial. And you know what? I'd be okay with that, except for the fact that the really cool thing about Return Zombies is that they are able to do some human-like behaviors. They're kind of smart, because the idea being that they're humans, like with normal human-level intelligence, that it's basically overcome by pain. These ones, though, seem just dumb.
They are just dumb sometimes.
They're just dumb, but also are just capable of doing human things beyond what Return Zombies should be able to do.
Yeah.
And it just, because of the cartoonish tone, it's just stupid.
Yep.
It not only doesn't make sense, but it's stupid, especially because most of the cartoonish stuff isn't like, in Return, it's plans. In this one, it's like, JK, why not?
Yeah, it's...
The worst one is, at one point, the zombies are driving a car, hooting and hollering like they're having fun, and smoking cigars.
With guns.
What the fuck?
Like, why?
Additionally, one of the really bad things I want to mention about zombie behavior is they do talk.
which is fine.
which is a classic Return thing.
That happens in Return.
However, they talk with normal human voices.
They're just talking. They just talk.
The first zombie we hear talk has a southern accent,
A thick Southern accent.
sounds completely fine, and also shouldn't be able to at that point
Yeah.
because they don't have vocal cords.
It's just a skull, basically.
It just doesn't. The zombie behavior is really bad. It's cartoonish and just over the top and
It's
matches the tone,
ridiculous.
but it's not great. Moving on from that, the last thing I really want to mention here before I get to like my final thoughts. I don't know if you have anything else.
No, I don't have
But-
anything else, dude.
But I was like, wow, you've gotten a lot out of this.
We have. I'm surprised. I'm still mad about it, though.
The last thing I do want to mention is the decision they make to wrap this up in a nice bow as a happy ending. First of all, part of why this film feels like a Goosebumps episode is the fact that it ends so
Happy?
happy and like everything's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, there's no one in this town because the military just happened to find the town in time.
Yeah.
Because like we said, Jesse calls the military, but he gets cut off before he can give anything else but his name.
Yeah. He basically is told, like, put on weight, and then the phones go out.
And yet, the military still comes and clears out the town. Maybe the implication is that they were able to trace where the barrels fell out,
Yeah, maybe.
but that doesn't make sense
No.
at all. Anyways, they clear out the whole town, so everyone's safe except one family in Joey's neighborhood, which is 3 people,
Mm-hmm.
and, like, the 4 main characters, and then Brenda, Joey, and Ed.
Yep.
First of all, there's no stakes in this movie, because, quite literally, I think 6 people die.
Yeah. Nothing
That we see.
Yeah. It's a bunch of side characters that we don't really
We don't care about. We don't know the name of most of them.
Nope.
But besides that, it's the fact that we're very quickly left with 4 characters we know for a fact aren't going to die.
Yep.
So no stakes. But they just end this movie in such a wrap it up in a bow way, like tee happy ending.
And-
that doesn't match the tone of a
No.
Return film
I was
at
about
all.
to say, Return ends in such a grim, awful way.
Yeah, which
And this film doesn't respect that at all.
because like the basic premise is 2,4,5 trioxin is basically like the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Like it can't be destroyed at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way it infects most of the zombies in that film is they try to burn it,
Mm-hmm.
and it just creates more trioxin that just causes acid rain.
Yep.
That can bring the dead to life because it can seep into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Scary as shit.
Awesome. It's
Awesome.
so cool.
In this film, it implies that, well, also, that the film's scary because everything can be brought back from the dead,
Mm-hmm.
including things that probably mostly just bones.
Yep.
And nothing kills them.
Nothing.
Like, nothing.
You have to incinerate the body, but then you're just throwing more trioxin into
Right.
the atmosphere.
In this film, it implies that electrocution kills them. And so that's how they solve the issue. They somehow attract every zombie
In this town.
in this town, which, yeah, is only like 20. But they get more extras than 20 for this last scene.
Yeah.
Which, A, I don't know where they came from.
No idea.
But also, they somehow managed to attract every zombie in this town.
Mm-hmm.
Makes no sense.
Literally every single one.
They somehow attracted them with... Oh, I also want to get on this
Oh,
rant.
God.
They attracted them with, I think it's like
It's beef brains.
beef brains.
Mm-hmm.
Because in this film, they eat
Animal brains.
animals.
Which doesn't make sense.
Which doesn't make sense because in the original film, my read of the situation is we know they eat human brains
Mm-hmm.
to keep them from feeling pain, which my read of the situation is there's a chemical in a human brain, like a living human brain, that tricks them into not feeling pain.
Yeah.
Nope, in this film, they also eat animals. Doesn't make
Yep.
sense, but they use them to lure every zombie to the power plant, which again, shouldn't have worked, but then they electrocute them, and that somehow manages to kill every single zombie.
Every single one.
I think I get the reasoning behind that decision of like electrocution's kind of like fire where it can like destroy all the cells,
Yeah.
and with all the cells destroyed, they must stop moving. And while I get that decision, I think it's stupid because A, it's a chemical that brings back the dead even when they're in states of like severe rot or like treatment. Like there's some things we see brought back in the first film that they wouldn't have had like cells that are still functional.
Yeah, there's literally a full-ass skeleton with just eyeballs.
Well, the one I'm thinking of that's really egregious is we see some pinned insects,
Oh, yeah.
That
I
move?
forgot about those.
and a pinned insect is, I think, just an exoskeleton, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So that has nothing in there except like chitin. And so if something like that can move, it doesn't make sense that like electricity would do enough damage to like prevent something from functioning.
Yeah.
Especially because it shows the zombies being electrocuted through like painted laser arrays over top of them,
Mhm.
which I normally love. This film doesn't serve it. But the zombies just kind of, they give these super cheesy shakes. Doesn't look good. But then they fall to the ground. They don't look singed, really.
No, they're just on the ground.
It wasn't enough electricity to cook them. It was just enough electricity to shock them, which means that the whole reasoning of like it can cook their cells doesn't make sense. Like burn their cells doesn't make sense. And so I think this is a stupid, stupid idea. And in part because it doesn't, I think, make sense with the world, but also because it just takes away the main interesting part of Return Zombies.
Yeah.
Which is how unkillable they are.
It makes them so not scary.
Because, like, what's the scariest thing about them? Oh, you can't kill them.
You
and
can't
if you
get rid of them.
do destroy them, that just makes more.
Mm-hmm.
And this throws that out the window. Especially because, like, electrocuting them should have, like, burnt some of them.
Yeah.
Creating more gas. It gets even more egregious at the end because we see a soldier holding a flamethrower and just burns some of them.
Yeah.
So apparently that whole burning thing's out the window, even though that's established in the first movie. Not to mention the fact that this film seems to establish the fact that the army didn't realize you can just electrocute a zombie to death.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's the army, and would have been aware of the situation for like
decades at this point.
Yeah, stupid ending. I hate it. Okay, I think that's all I want to talk about.
Yeah, man, me too.
I'm sure there's more if I really wanted to pin something down.
No, man, I don't have anything else.
It's the film in the Return franchise that I kind of just want to not talk about. Like, I feel like you kind of have to watch it if you're a fan. Because it's there.
It exists.
Like, it's the sequel to the original movie. It just doesn't feel like it belongs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really a film where it's not good. Like,
No.
It's objectively not a good film. Like, I can't sit here and say, oh, it has, like, some redeeming qualities, because it really doesn't have a lot. And I have a bias because I really like the first movie, and this film is disappointing. So take what I say with a grain of salt. But like, it's just one of those films where it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't associated with this franchise.
Absolutely.
It still wouldn't have been good.
No, but I could have at least stomached some of it.
But the fact that it is supposed to be associated with this franchise and be similar, and it's just so not, makes this film so much worse.
Yeah, I mean, like I said it earlier, if you were to sit down and be like, I'm going to watch Return of the Living Dead, and you watch that movie and then go, I'm going to watch the second one like you did, and go into it, you'd be so fucking disappointed because it's so tonally different.
Oh my God, it was such an unpleasant experience watching the first film and then the second film back to back. Not to mention confusing, because not only is the tone super different to the point where I thought I was watching a different movie, but for how much I like the gag where Ed and Joey are in this film and are basically the same characters as Frank and Freddy, super confusing.
Yeah.
Super confusing, especially because the film is so tonally different. It's been a while. This was years and years ago that I first watched these films. But I distinctly remember kind of watching it and being like, this feels like a bootleg copy. Like a bootleg sequel where they wrote a film and then got these two actors to play two of the characters that were a ripoff of characters from Return, and then somehow got the rights to just slap the name on. And I really did have a moment of, am I watching the right film? Because this doesn't look or feel like the right film.
Yeah, I just felt like they were like, yeah, let's make a sequel to Return, and then didn't make it anything like the original, so it doesn't really feel like it should be a sequel to Return in any way. Like, the only follow-through is that trioxin is what makes the zombies.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's literally it.
And it doesn't really function the same way.
No.
Nor do the zombies function the same
No,
way.
it feels like...
Also, we already said this. They don't call them zombies till the end, which doesn't make sense.
And the old man calls them zombies a single time.
At the very end, when everything's over. They don't shoot them in the head like you should.
No.
Like, culturally, you would have known to do.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the zombies feel weak. Like, they shoot them, and they keep getting up.
Yeah.
Which is, okay, that's good.
Yeah, because they shouldn't die.
But they also don't seem scary, because
No.
it seems to actually kind of work.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to say before we go to the recommendations?
No.
Okay.
I'm over this movie.
You started so hopeful. I'm glad I gave you some warning, or you would have been pissed off.
Oh my God! If you had just told me you were watching Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
Oh, you were so excited before we started.
Yep,
but
I was because I like the original.
I couldn't
It's
lie to you
fun.
like that.
It's good, and like I like the tone of the original. I like the fact that, spoiler, everybody fucking dies because they nuke
so
the city.
Dark. They nuke Louisville.
They nuke us, and it's awesome, right?
The fucking supply company for dead bodies. It's called You Need Us.
Like, it's so...
It's just dark humor at its peak. It's great.
And then they don't.
Yeah.
This is just goofy, stupid kid zombie movie.
Also, there's Suicide, who's so punk it hurts.
I love him.
And these
so
kids are
much.
like Boy Scouts.
they're oh God.
Also, we haven't even talked about there's so much overdubbing in this film.
Yeah, I mentioned
zombies,
zombies,
yeah.
but also
No,
just
but
the
the
kid.
literal human characters are overdubbed.
Yeah, and also all the characters' characterization blows.
Because well, a lot of the actors aren't trying. You can tell.
Yeah,
Recommendations before we get caught up in any other thing. Got to move on.
I guess if you're watching every Return of the Living Dead film, you can watch this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it because it doesn't feel like a return film after only having seen the first one. But if you're trying to watch them all, you can watch it. I'll say this at least. If you are a fan of like practical animatronics, I think that's probably the saving grace of this film. That's the only highlight I can give, even though I don't think they're amazing. They're pretty cool, at least.
No, the animatronics themselves are cool.
Yeah.
The stuff over top of them
Yeah.
is not. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
That's it. I can't even give any good recommendations. That's how upset this film has made me.
Basically my only recommendation here. I got two. I'll pull two out. If you're a fan of Return, like that franchise, and especially the first film, and you're gonna watch the films, you do have to watch this one because it is the sequel, and no matter how much I like it, it is important to have like seen it to know. I mean, I think it makes you appreciate the first film a lot more.
Oh yeah, it does.
Because it shows you how poorly they could have done. It also just tells you how much better it was. And then my other recommendation really is, if you're a fan of like that dynamic between James Cameron and Tom Matthews,
that's fair.
not as well done here, but you do get a taste of it again, and that's kind of great.
It's still entertaining. Like, it's still funny.
Aside from that, I don't have any recommendations.
Yeah, I don't either.
You get to rate it.
Man, this is coming out after.
How low can we go on a rating?
That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. This is coming out after House on Haunted Hill, and I said on that we've been throwing fives around. We've also been throwing around low scores a lot lately too. We've not been getting anything in the middle. It's either been absolute burning trash heap or like peak cinema.
You know why, right? Because we've been doing a lot of convention movies, which we're watching because those movies are so famous that they're having actors from them do conventions.
Yeah,
Which usually is a good sign. And then also
sequels to those movies.
sequels to those movies, which aren't always good. And just regular board episodes, which either
Those are hit or miss.
hit or miss.
I don't know if I want to give it a 1 because at least it's a movie.
I mean, I think, a 0.5 is like it somehow failed at being a movie.
Somehow. And I don't think it...
And then a 0 is just straight up not a movie.
Which we've not experienced that yet.
I don't know how we would. That's
don't
so
either.
hard.
It would have to get past you first,
it-
and I don't know how any of that would get past
would
you.
have to qualify as not being a movie.
I guess I'll give it a 1.5 because that's as far down as I'm going to go. But I don't have any positives.
Oh,
Like,
how? I guess my point is, how did it get a half? Because 1 is conventionally how low we'll go on the scale. So how did it get a 0.5 added to that?
the animatronics are okay.
Okay.
And then seeing Tom Matthews back and doing the Freddie Frank thing is cool. And that was, I mean, there are some funny, like, what I'm saying is, like, there are some moments in this film where I genuinely went, that was pretty okay. And I laughed because it was a good joke or a good follow-through thing. But, like, other than those, like, slim, far-between moments, I didn't really enjoy myself.
All right. Fair enough.
And I guess that's enough to give it a half because that's it. This one pissed me off, and I'm trying not to be screamy on the podcast anymore.
I think it's very funny.
I'm also just really tired.
All right. I'm going to give it a 1.
Yeah, I mean,
Shocking for
that's
Bob.
completely fair, man.
I do have some valid reasonings here. First of all, removing myself from the situation and my personal feelings, I don't think this is a very good movie.
No, it's not.
Just like objectively, I don't think it's well done. I don't think the tone worked. And in all honesty, I don't know who the intended audience for this film was.
I don't know either.
It feels like a kid's movie, yet it's rated R.
Yep.
Like, the only people who I think would have a lot of fun with this are, like, the kids the same age as, like, Jesse, which is, like, 10 to 11.
11, 13-year-olds?
Maybe not even 13-year-olds, but,
Yeah.
like, 8 to 12.
Yeah.
Just, like, small toys. That's kind of, like, what it felt like the perfect audience for this was, but it's rated R. I'm not sure why they gave it an R rating. I understand objectively, but, like, I don't understand why they need to put stuff in there to get it there. But I don't understand who it's for because the audience that I feel like would appreciate this best can't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense.
I feel like they got it to an R just because the original was an R.
Mm-hmm. Well, get into that in a second. So I don't know who this is made for, and it very clearly, I think fails to hit that quote-unquote target audience, because I'd say the target audience is 8 to 12, but very clearly they were trying to go for something older if it's rated R.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was just to grade it as just a movie with, like, how it turned out with, like, the effects and some of the directing choices and all that, I think I'd probably give it a 1.5. And if I was being very nice, I'd give it a 2. Because there is some jokes that make you laugh, and the animatronics, while I didn't like the way they looked, I can still tell had some effort in there. So I'd say I'd hover between 1.5 and a 2. But see, the thing is, this isn't its own movie. It's not. This is a sequel in a franchise. In fact, it's probably the most important sequel in a franchise. It's the second one. And so it's carrying a lot of association and weight because of that. And so it's not allowed to be graded on its own merit, because it's not its own thing. It's a continuation of something. And as a continuation of a pre-existing IP, it absolutely fails. Not only does it not carry over some of the pre-established rules of the franchise, which is only one movie at this point, and so there's not a lot of rules. In fact, it's basically like, you can't destroy the zombies. They break all those rules. They also just don't hit the tone right, or have, like, characters behave the way they should. Point being is, like, well, it's not a great film by itself. It's even worse as a film in a franchise.
Do you want to know something that makes me so
what?
angry about this film? They never even acknowledge that the first film happened.
No.
There's no acknowledgement to the end of that film at all, when that should be the start of this film, because it's established at the end of that film that it's still going on and it's still all terrible. But no, everything's goddamn fine.
Is it mentioned in the... There's an intro narration, which I hate, but is it mentioned in that one?
No.
Vaguely?
No.
Oh.
They
okay.
don't mention it at fucking all.
Which, to be honest, I can get kind of having that timeline peter out a little bit, because it's so dark that it's hard to move on from that.
But you could at least, like,
Throw in a cameo.
throw in anything, literally anything from that, and it would make this feel a little bit better.
Anyways, point being, as a standalone, not great, 1.5 to 2. But because it's a franchise, it takes points away. And I'm only going to go as low as a 1, because to be honest, I kind of want to give it a lower rating, but a 0.5 for me is it literally failed to be a movie. Like, it's structurally missing things that would make it a movie. And this film is not doing that. So I'm only going to give it a 1. But how badly it performed as a sequel really does affect not only my personal enjoyment, but, like, how I view this film. And I can't view it as good.
That's fair.
Yeah, I guess we'll go to the outtakes. I don't know how many there's.
There might be
There's
none.
not a lot.
There might be none.
There might be none, because Bob might scrub them and go, these aren't good.
Yeah.
The closest we have are basically me and Bob laughing at something that's bad. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in a minute. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the outtake section for this episode of Beware the Board. I hope you're enjoying our review of Return of the Living Dead Part 2 so far. I didn't like this film. Ben didn't like this film. I just think overall it's a very disappointing sequel to the original, which is an amazing classic zombie film. But if you do not want any spoilers for this movie, please skip to 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 21 seconds immediately. This first clip is me making a statement that could not have been more wrong.
That guy's jamming.
He is jamming, bruh. That's some of the trioxin bins.
The zombie canisters? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that hotline number that no one ever uses.
They did use it. Oh, well, hold on. This music slaps. Oh, my God. I can already tell this might be a film that is very poorly rated, but I'm going to love. This next clip is our reaction to Freddie and Frank making their triumphant return. Ah. Wait, really?
What?
Are they back? Just not the same people?
The fact that it took you that long to realize.
It was the hair. And he doesn't have the dumb hat anymore.
Yeah, it's Frank and
Frank and oh my God.
Is it Eddie?
No. I remember his name now. You know what's funny? I saw his name's like Tom Wilson, right?
Yeah.
I saw his name in the credits.
Tom Matthews.
Tom Matthews, sorry. I saw his name in the credits and thought that was him. This next clip is Ben and I making fun of how bad some of the zombies look in this film. Oh, yeah, I forgot that that was her husband out in the street.
Did he get bit?
Oh, he got his brain ripped out.
I remember.
But I don't think we see anyone. Oh, I hate it.
Look at that cop.
That looks bad.
He looks like the Crimson Chin.
A little bit.
I want you to know,
This next clip is Ben and I reacting to the only silver lining in this entire film.
Send more cops.
Also, they're doing the same bit again.
Also, you know,
Ed and Joey are both just infected because they breathed in the fucking gas.
yeah,
They're just going to turn again.
I mean, yeah, it's worth it though.
Yeah, it's worth it. They're funny. Yeah. That's funny. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed maybe some outtakes, if they're in there.
I think you should just put none.
Well, I think there might be some funny ones. If I remember correctly,
There's probably us laughing at Joey and Ed,
yeah,
and that's probably about it.
that's probably about all the outtakes. But I'll try to include what I can.
best part of that movie.
Yeah. Do we have any announcements, Ben?
Well, Return of the Living Dead 3 is coming out on Monday.
Yeah.
And I'm going to preface this now. I like to forget 2 exists and then just jump straight to 3.
Yeah.
Like, having seen all the films, I'm at that point where I'm just like, 1, 3.
Damn.
Both because, like, this is one of those films where I don't like it, but also because I feel like it just doesn't work in the context of these movies.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just like to not address it as existing.
That's a really good sign for a film. When you
Yeah.
just go, you know what? I'd rather not.
You just don't exist in my
Yeah.
head canon.
Awesome. Love
And
to hear
also
that.
just in my brain, I just kind of black it out. I go, oh yeah, Return 3? Great sequel.
Awesome.
Glad that that's the second movie in this franchise.
Oh
my
god.
Which, if you couldn't tell from that, I actually like Return of the Living Dead 3. I think it's a pretty rad sequel. Good follow-up to Return of the Living Dead. Good second part. So we are reviewing that on Monday, and you can actually be excited for that one, Bob, and also audience people.
Thank God. Thank fucking God. At least I have something to fucking look forward to.
No, you'll like that one. I mean, I think Return of the Living Dead's better, but I
Fair.
can totally see you liking that film more.
Oh, man.
So-
that would be cool. Maybe we'll have a
Setting it up
Halloween
to be
2
good.
situation.
Yeah.
Not a Halloween 6 situation.
Aside from that, usual stuff. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other interweb places. As always, we're on YouTube, which not necessarily the easiest place to watch because you do need to be like online. But it's nice if you wanted to show us support because you can like us there and subscribe, and we can see that. It's also useful for like setting up notifications to tell you whenever we post, which normally it's just every Friday, but since we've been doing this convention stuff, it's all the time.
Yeah, constantly, in fact.
If you have notifications, it actually might be kind of annoying.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry. With that being said, YouTube is one of the 2 places that you can communicate with us. You can either do that in the comment section of videos, and we will see that, or you can do it directly to Bob on Twitter. Please suggest better movies than this one.
Oh, God, please. I said this yesterday for you because it's Friday. I can't keep having anacondas. This was far worse than Anaconda. At least I thought that movie was funny. This was not fun. I did not enjoy myself whatsoever.
Yeah. Hopefully next time we'll return from the grave for a better film.
Maybe a rave, in fact.
Well, we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. Damn it. Like Ben said, check us out on Twitter at @BewareTheBoard. It's where I post updates about the show and any other important information. On Mondays, I post a spoiler post for that week's episode or however many episodes we have to drop, which is basically a movie cover that's hidden and you can reveal it to see what it is so you can watch the movie before we do. If you did that for this week, I'm sorry because this was not worth it.
There is some danger with this strategy.
There is some danger because sometimes movies suck. But
Well, I guess you would have posted that in your spoiler.
yeah, well, I guess I could have been like, don't watch this, please.
Well, you'll know if you saw it. 'Cause
Yeah.
that happens in the future. Does.
But when you see the movie, you can go watch before we do. So whenever you listen to the episode, you don't get any spoilers, or when we're being really vague about stuff, you're not confused about any BS in a movie. And then on whatever day an episode goes up, I post a link to the episode with sometimes now an associated meme. It just depends on the
It
episode.
sometimes depends on if they're relevant.
Yeah. So if you ever like miss an upload or wondering when something went up, it's always on our Twitter. Check it out. I think the last thing is check us out on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. We're on doing short form content now. I've been posting extra stuff. You brought it back. I don't want to kill you. He's doing hand puppets again. I don't even remember if that was this episode or not. I'm in a haze right now. But yeah, we're doing short form content. So if that's your thing, check us out there. I've been posting extra clips from the show that no one's ever seen before by rescrubbing old footage. So that's really cool. So if short form content is your thing, check us out on TikTok at Beware the Board and on YouTube Shorts. I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
See you next time.
we'll see you guys next time.